we're delighted to be joined by Vicky Hayden. Vicky Hayden is the head of global partnership at Stonewall. Today, she will be here to talk about the Workplace Index, Equality Index 2021. And a warm welcome to Vicky, and over to you.
Hi, my name's Vicky. I'm head of global partnerships at Stonewall. My pronouns are she and her. Thank you so much to Ram and everyone at Pride Circle for inviting me to share this presentation with you today about the India Workplace Equality Index. Many of you will have heard of the Workplace Equality Index, the India Workplace Equality Index, that we launched for the first time in India last year. The India Workplace Equality Index is a tool designed for organisations to use to help them track and assess and plan their LGBT inclusion initiatives in their workplaces in and across India. The Workplace Equality Index tool was originally designed by Stonewall. Stonewall are a leading LGBT organisation in the UK, and we work internationally. We were delighted to be asked by the 𝘍𝘬𝘁 Foundation and Pride Circle to be part of a partnership to deliver the Workplace Equality Index tool to businesses across India. And we were thrilled last year to have 65 organisations take part in our inaugural India Workplace Equality Index. As I'm sure you're all really familiar, this is a really pivotal point in time and an incredible opportunity to bring LGBT inclusion into the workplace. Given the recent repeal of key legislation decriminalising same-sex relationships, we know that there is still a lot to do in the workplace to protect LGBT people from discrimination. It's really crucial for organisations to have strong anti-discrimination policies and practices in place so that LGBT people are able to bring their full selves to work, relish with their job security and their job satisfaction, and not feel like they have to conceal their identity in the workplace. We know that the legislative framework for trans communities and trans people in India still has some way to go, especially in the workplace. And we hope that the India Workplace Equality Index is a tool for organisations to start thinking about how they will protect trans people in the workplace and celebrate the diverse experiences. So the India Workplace Equality Index, or IWE for short, is designed to empower organisations to navigate the challenges of embedding LGBT inclusion and really to provide a clear roadmap for development and progress. So the best organisations will take part in a workplace equality index year on year to be able to track their success and compete with other organisations to be one of the very best places to work for LGBT people. We've been running the Workplace Equality Index in the UK for 15 years. We've also ran a global workplace equality index. So we know from experience that this tool really supports organisations to put a clear framework in place. And the feedback that we had from organisations last year who participated in the India Workplace Equality Index is that it's enabled them to really see where some of the gaps might be in their LGBT and diversity work in general, and where some of the opportunities are for them to do better. So every organisation compiles a submission, which is accompanied by supporting evidence and an opportunity for you to share some narrative about the work you've been doing, which demonstrate your performance against a set of predefined best practice criteria. So there are 9 sections of the India Workplace Equality Index in total, and I'll talk you through them very briefly. The first section is on policy. So this is around having a clear anti-discrimination policy that includes LGBT people, not tolerating discrimination or harassment towards LGBT people in any form in the workplace. We're looking for specific policy provisions relating to trans people, so guidance on bathroom and facilities use, dress code information, and appropriate language for the workplace, as well as perhaps some transitioning at work guidance and evidence that you're able to extend your healthcare provisions for same-sex partners and trans people through your workplace policy. The second section in the IWE is the employee life cycle. This looks at start to finish, from how you attract diverse talent into the organisation, how you support them throughout their career or their time in your workplace through equality and diversity training, leadership opportunities, through to celebrating LGBT calendar events throughout the year, like Pride Month, for example, and really engage diverse colleagues in development opportunities and recognise things like their participation in employee networks, for example. The third one is around LGBT employee resource groups, or ERGs or BRGs, whichever language you're most familiar with. The first thing we ask is just whether you have an LGBT group within your workplace that has clear objectives and goals so that they know what they're working towards. And then we start to look at the types of activity that that network or resource group are involved in. So they could be supporting the business to develop better internal diversity and inclusion policies. And they might also be outward thinking. So looking at awareness raising events or social events, or collaborating with other diversity groups. Section 4 looks at the role of allies and role models. So just having an ally programme for non-LGBT people to participate and educate and raise awareness about the role of allies in a workplace. Having a visible commitment from everybody around the importance of diversity and inclusion, and LGBT inclusion in particular, and elements of role modelling, both from LGBT people and people in leadership. That brings us to section 5, which looks at the role of senior leaders in an organisation. We want to know how you educate and support your senior leaders to understand LGBT inclusion and its importance in the workplace, as well as examples of leaders engaging with events or inclusion strategies, or sharing communications about why they think it's important to focus on LGBT equality. We then look at monitoring or self-ID to see whether you provided the opportunity for LGBT people to self-ID through workplace systems. And we're also interested about whether that data looks beyond the gender binary and includes non-binary and or trans people. We want to make sure that you're communicating the importance of that data collection and using that data in the best way. So being able to analyse it and understand the experiences of your staff is really key to this process. We then move into the role of procurement and your supply chain. We look at the pre-tender process and ask questions around your pre-qualification questions and how you track and trace whether potential suppliers also uphold values of anti-discrimination, particularly in reference to LGBT people. We look at whether you collaborate with your suppliers on diversity and LGBT events or community activities like fundraising. And we also assess whether you have an element of supplier diversity programming that includes LGBT diversity. In the community engagement section, we look at how your organisation outwardly celebrates its commitment to LGBT inclusion. This could be through the use of social media or engaging and supporting LGBT community groups or doing collaborative projects with other organisations in your sector. And then after all of that, if there's anything else left to share, we invite you to send us information around your additional work, things that have gone above and beyond these criteria that relate to LGBT inclusion and diversity in your workplace. The IWE is completely free to participate. Every organisation that participates has some overview of their scoring and their final marks, but no written or specific feedback. There is an option to pay for additional feedback, which lots of organisations did this year and found that a really rich meeting to understand what elements of their submission were really strong and what elements needed focus and attention for this year. That's an optional meeting, an additional cost of the equivalent of $1,000 US, but otherwise it's completely free for any organisation to participate in the India Workplace Equality Index. So last year we had 65 organisations take part, and we were able to award the majority of those gold, silver or bronze. We were delighted that out of those 65 organisations, that represented 16 sectors collectively, ranging from technology to financial services to fast-moving consumer goods from Hindustan Unilever, for example. So you can see here our gold, silver and bronze award winners. We were thrilled and delighted to see so many organisations awarded a gold, silver or bronze award this year. Every organisation can choose to participate anonymously, so you'll see that in some of these categories there are additional anonymous submissions. We ask you this at the beginning and at the end of your submission, so you can change your mind when you've heard your results if your organisation wanted to then not participate anonymously and be open in your participation instead. And we were really thrilled to be able to celebrate the results of this year's India Workplace Equality Index virtually. Although we'd love to do it in person, this was the best thing for this year. So on the bottom right of the screen, you can see our virtual auditorium kindly shared with us from Vicky. And we're really grateful for that opportunity to be able to see over 200 people participate in the virtual award ceremony this year. We had media coverage in double figures. We were delighted to see both India-based and international news reportings on the results of the India Workplace Equality Index. And we were also really happy to see organisations celebrate their success on social media. So for this year, there are 3 key dates for your diary. The first one is the 6th of May. That's when we open for submissions to the India Workplace Equality Index. Then the 15th of July is when the index submissions close and we need your final pieces of evidence. And then the 11th of November is when we are intending to launch our results this year. So what can you do? You can participate. We'd love more organisations to take part this year. We had 65 last year and we'd love to beat that this year. There are opportunities for sponsorship if that's something that your organisation would be interested in. And we'd love you to share this information with all of your contacts across workplaces in India. And please speak to anybody at Stonewall, the 𝘍𝘬𝘁 Foundation or Pride Circle, and Ram and I in particular, if you would like more information. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to seeing more of you participate next year.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for that amazing input of the Indian Workplace Equity Index 2021.